Hello everyone, welcome to my channel on data analytics. I am your host Professor Rage Udaikiran. In this video, we are going to learn about 4 best coding practices the users can follow so that they can improve their coding skills. The outline of my presentation is as follows. We are going to talk about 4 rules. The first one is usage of words instead of letters. The next one is what kind of casing types the users have to follow. And the third one is not to write your logic in the main function. And we discuss the reason for it. Finally, we talk about the rules which use set function name and get function name. Talking about rule 1, when you are writing in the code, we often find people using the letters for initializing the variables. For example, int I, int j, and so on. My advice to the coders is not to use such one letters, single character based letters, because later on it is difficult for you and also for others to read your code and understand what that variable means. So always use a word. Similarly, if you are going to use the complex data structures for the words, also use what kind of a variable that is, whether it is a string variable which is also an array or not. So try to use the data structure type for that variable. That way you can easily understand and the code. Similarly, if you are using binary variables, don't use the word a, especially if that binary variable is a flag. Use flag word. Okay, and you want to use multiple flags. Use the word flag condition 1, flag condition 2, and so on. Simply do not use the letters. Even the words try to avoid if you are talking about binary variables. Next one, if you have to use binary variables in your logic, simply don't use the word. Try to add the word is in front so that that variable makes sense. For example, simply don't say boolean Java is it true. It is not good. It doesn't make the users to read and understand the code properly. Try to say boolean is Java easy equivalent to true. So like that, try to use the is in front of the words if you have to use. Now we talk about the casing. So if you are going to use words for the variable names, there will be scenarios where you want to use multiple words together for a variable, for a function, or for a class. In that case, we generally follow a casing. The popular casing types are camel casing, snake casing, and Pascal casing. In camel casing, what we do is multiple words when they exist, the starting of the word will be made capital. Okay, and then we will write it. If you are following a snake case, use underscore to combine multiple words. In Pascal scaling, the first letter of the word is also made capital. Okay, camel casing and Pascal's casing are similar. The only difference is in camel casing, the first letter of the first word will always be small letter. Whereas in Pascal casing, the first letter of the first word is capital. In Java, Pascal scale casing is used for class names, and for the remaining ones, we use camel casing. Now, when you are following a particular case, please ensure that for the entire project, you are stick to the same case type. For instance, if you are doing entire project in camel casing, please use camel casing for the entire project. Do not change to snake casing to write some functions or some class files in your package. Similarly, if you are working in a team, inquire with your colleagues what kind of casing your team is following and accordingly try to write in the casing type. Most important, this is the common problem that many coders face. For example, assume that I am very good at camel casing, but in the project I am going to work, then I have to use snake casing. In that case, it becomes very difficult for me to convert my way of coding to snake casing. In that case, please do not worry. Write your code in the casing of your choice. Okay, since I am familiar with camel casing, I will write my entire Java program in camel casing only. However, using the inbuilt functions of the IDEs, we can convert our variables, function names and all into snake casing or any other type of casing. Okay, IDEs provide that functionality. So please try to use those functionalities. Do not try to write in the casing that is unfamiliar to you, because you may create lot of bugs during the conversion process. So try to avoid the conversion. Write in the casing, type casing that you know, and then using IDEs convert your variables, functions and class names. Next one. This is the very important rule that everyone must follow. Please do not write your logic in the main function of a class. Main function is not for writing logic. Its purpose is different and we are going to learn it. So let us look at a small Java example. Okay. So here we have created a Java class. In that class, we have a function name called Java class. Okay. So the class name and the function name is the same. If the function name is same as the class name, we call that function as constructor. Similarly, we will also have a main function. So in a class, we will have a constructor and the main function. If you are learning the Java, in many books, printing the text hello world is written in the main function. So many students think that it is fine to write logic in the main function. But please keep in mind that one should not write logic in the main function. Why? The reason we will discuss now. When you see the constructor and the main function, please keep in mind that constructor is the entry point of your class file, or for your program, constructor is the entry point, and the constructor allows only Java instance. For example, okay, you can run a class file, okay, through a Java program and also from the terminal. Now, if you have a Java instance, that Java instance is allowed to go into the Java class file. Okay. If the terminal wants to enter into the Java class file, it cannot enter directly because the instance is different. Terminal is not a Java instance, so this cannot enter into the constructor. Now the question is, then if I cannot execute my code from the terminal, then how to execute? How can the terminal Java's program, the main Java instance, okay, we call, can enter into this Java class file? That happens through main function. So the main function exists only to call the Java class file from the terminal. If you do not write main function, you cannot run the class or Java program from the terminal. Okay? So once you run the Java program from the terminal, the Java process comes to the main, it takes the arguments and enters into the main function. Here, what the Java process will do is, it will create the instance of the Java class and then enters into here. Okay, as follows. So it has entered into the main, creates a Java instance. Okay, now terminal became a Java instance. Now it is allowed to enter into the constructor. Okay, now once this is done, the program will be executed. One question: a Java instance is allowed into the constructor. Now the question is Java instance allowed into the main function? Please pause this video and try to answer whether it is yes or no. The answer is no. A Java instance is not allowed to enter into the main function. That is the reason why we should not write logic in the main function. Main function is only to create a Java instance of this class and enter into the constructor. Okay, so please keep in mind, do not write your logic here. Please use only sprint statements and object creation statements in the void main. Coming to the last and final one, when you are using the functions, especially for passing the variables and getting the result, try to use the names set and get. Okay? For example, in my Java class, if I want to pass any variable values to these variables, then please do not use the word run and pass the values like this. Okay, please do not use the word run. Okay, because the users do not understand what it means. Okay, instead of doing this, okay, you have to follow set and get functions. Because if you observe carefully, this function run is telling that it is going to accept the input variables and it is going to output the result. So a small portion of your logic is being exposed to others with this kind of the function, okay, which is not good. Why? Because there is very famous proverb: a magician never reveals his secret and a coder never reveals his logic. So a good coder always hides his logic from the executors or the end users. So how does we do it? So if we have a Java class file, what we do is we use the function set values with the void type. So in this function, using this function, the users have to pass the values. Since this function has void data type, users will not understand anything about this function. And now when they are executing the run function, you are saying it's void. So they do not have any clue on what is happening in this function. And finally, when you are returning the value, you are using get. So whatever is logic, it is completely hidden and you are simply giving away the values. Some of you who are good at coding may think this way of setting the values and reading the values is not efficient, especially with respect to memory and runtime, because we have to write more lines of code and the users have to call many functions. But the important thing is you are maintaining the secrecy of your logic. That is encapsulation of your logic, which is one of the important properties of OOPS concepts. Also, keep in mind that small code may not be beneficial always. That is, right way may not always be the easy and safe way. So always ensure that your logic cannot be understood by the end users. Finally, the takeaway is as follows: whatever is your programming language, C, C++, Java, Python, or any other programming language that comes in the near future, it doesn't matter. Always try to follow these four pillars or best coding practices if you want to become a good programmer. The first one is usage of words and how to use multiple words following a particular case type. The second one is never write the logic in the main function. And finally, try to use set and get functions to pass the values and to retrieve the result. Thank you. If you have any doubts, feel free to contact me. If you want to know more about our work, please subscribe to this channel.